Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming along. It's good to see chat already busy, everybody having a little chat away, but welcome whether you're watching live. Oh, apparently I've got my own, there we go, I have my own channel open, so it was coming through in a different place. Oh dear, good, well off to a flying start. But it's great to see everybody here. As I say, whether you're watching live or you're watching on demand, it's wonderful to have you with me. This evening is, of course, my Reaper miniature stream. So for the most part, I'm going to be looking at this Frost Giant here, who's a very cool looking guy. If I can find a standard 32mm mini to show you how big he is, there we are. So he's quite a big chap, which is awesome. So I'm going to be working on that tonight. I've also got a few kind of announcements, bits and pieces that I will sprinkle in there as well. I will get on with the painting though, because otherwise I don't get anything done in an hour, because I end up just chatting away for the whole time and not really getting anything done. So I will crack on with the painting. I'll just say first that all I've done here is I've stuck him onto a bit of a base. I ran out of normal bases, so this base is just made of this stuff, which is like foam board, which actually came in a board game, which I got, or I think slightly more accurately, it came in the packaging for a board game organizer or something along those lines. But that's what this is. But it's nice and firm, and it does the job nicely. So that's the base. I've stuck a few stones on there. There are some real stones on there, but there are also some bits of cork, which work great as the smaller stones because they have a really good texture for that kind of thing. So I've done that. All of that glued on, and then I've just sprayed it with black primer. You absolutely never throw anything away. I have boxes and boxes of all kinds of stuff which I just look at and think, maybe that'll be useful for miniatures at some point in the future. And a small percentage of it even is useful at some point in the future. It doesn't just live there forever. So that's what I've done on it so far. You may know, depending how kind of far through your own miniature painting journey, if that's something that you're into, you might know that some Reaper miniatures don't take well to spray priming. But any of the more modern ones really spray prime absolutely fine. It's only the really soft white plasticky ones which don't. So this took absolutely fine to that primer. And I'm kind of sticking with a bit of a theme on this mini. One of the earliest kind of big minis that I painted is this guy here. Ooh, let's try not to bash them into each other. So this is the Frost Giant King, I think, from Reaper Miniatures. And I kind of went for this colour scheme, and as I say, fairly early days, so it's not the most kind of sophisticated paint job I've ever done. But then I did another Frost Giant a little bit later and kind of went for a similar paint scheme. So I'm going to stick with this scheme tonight and do a similar thing. So we're going to go for the old blue skin look. So I'm going to get cracking with that, and then afterwards I'll start interspersing some of the kind of announcements and bits and pieces that I'm going to be doing in with that. So I'm going to start with some Icy Violet from Reaper. It's a Icy Violet, and then I'm going to later on use some Frost Blue, and I'll create a middle tone as well, so that it's not quite such a stark contrast between the two. So we'll go. So we've got my trusty wet palette here. You can just see it in the corner there. Gets a lot of use between the various streams and bits and pieces I'm doing. I was just finishing off my mini of the day while I was watching Michael Mordor's stream as well, so I've now just about got that finished. I still need to take some photos, but yeah, that's good that we're up to date with that. I painted a miniature every day of I genuinely nearly said 2016, so I don't know where that came from. I've painted a miniature every day of 2021 so far, so that's good. I'm keeping it up. I'm aiming to do it for the entire year. Although if I think it's 2016, who knows what that's going to do in various other ways. Okay, so we're going to just crack on with this and get some skin tones down. The dark, the black spray paint gives it a nice kind of dark colour to start with. So we kind of want to bring that up a little bit with the different blues that we're using here. I've done recently. I've been doing quite a lot of priming in white. I kind of vary it up quite a bit based on the effects that I want. White is great for the really bright colours to really pop and show. Black is really good for some of the more muted colours, but also for the kind of deep dark shadows. So I mean, if you look just quickly, look again at this guy. There's apart from his beard, there's not a load of really bright colour on there. You'll know if you watch many of my other streams. I have a bit of a thing for miniatures with beards. I don't really know where that comes from, but they seem to get mentioned every stream that I do. So it's all good. This one and this one again, a nice beard on this mini. So yeah, this blue, the Icy Violet, gives us a really good kind of deep tone. I will actually add a little bit of wash onto this after I've done it with this blue, just to get the really deep dark spots on the skin for the shadows. But then we'll work up from there to the light blue. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be I'm going to be on for about an hour today. I'm not going to be able to do this one on any more streams because I've kind of I want to get this painted as the ice themed mini for the Reaper Challenge League. And because that has to be done by the end of this month, I can't wait and paint it again on the next stream. So I will work on this tonight, and then I'll get it done by the end of the month. But you'll be able to see it if you follow me on Twitter. I post all my painted minis on Twitter, so you can catch them on there. I also my Saturday morning streams tend to be a bit of a weekly roundup as well, so I'll probably show it on there as well if you can catch that. I know Saturday morning for me is a bit of a weird one for people in various other parts of the world. Like in America, it's kind of middle of the night and things, which is not ideal. But you can always catch up on VOD. I'm in the process of putting all my old streams onto YouTube, but I'm quite behind really on that. So, but I'm getting there. I got another one up today, so it's all good. Yeah, and you can see there. It's probably going to require another coat. Oh, thank you for the Twitter link, as ever. Having a great moderator on the stream is always useful. Yeah, so we get this this blue down, and it just starts to give us that effect that we're looking for. I'll have to jump around a little bit. I think that's. I don't know if any of you were watching. Well, I know that some of you were watching Michael Mordor's stream before. I don't know how many of you were, but he was saying there about having to paint lots of miniatures at the same time because otherwise you just end up sitting there waiting for minis to dry, and doesn't make for great Twitch viewing. Obviously, I'm just happy kind of nattering away anyway, but I will take that time to do a couple of little announcements and things, tell you what's coming up on future streams, that kind of thing. I've got a giveaway to tell you about as well, very exciting. I don't know how long you've been kind of following these things, but Michael used to do a lot of giveaways on Patreon, and I used to do some on there as well, and then Patreon had a bit of a crackdown and you're not allowed to do giveaways on Patreon, but you are allowed to do giveaways on Twitch, which is perfect. So I shall give you news of that. It will go out onto Twitter and things, but you will hear it here first, basically because I only came up with the idea today. So hot off the press and all that. Cool, we've got a few little slightly more challenging areas to get to here, like painting between his legs. This did come in parts, as these minis often do, and I did keep it apart initially, thinking that I would paint it in parts and then put it together, and then fairly last minute I kind of broke and decided that I would do it like this. I kind of go backwards and forwards a bit on painting in parts versus painting as one complete thing. I would say in the majority of cases I actually I paint it all in one piece rather than doing the parts and then sticking them together, because I find for me the matching of colours at the end is always very difficult. So you can end up with a few beautifully painted pieces, but they just don't go together very well because the actual colours don't quite match up. So I prefer to generally to paint in one go, although there are times obviously where there are exceptions where you just physically can't get to parts of the mini to paint it and things, but as a rule that's my approach. So we've got his arms, first layer on his arms done. We're going to do, I think his little knees are bare, so we'll do that. we'll get in there and do them. Trouble with having a full wet palette is I've got another blue on there which I keep almost going towards and picking up. Not that it would be the end of the world, obviously I could just paint over it, but it's alright. We'll keep going with this blue and get that down. And as I say, I think the plan for the blue is to get this, probably a couple of layers of this colour down so that it gives it a bit more of an even look. You can see that it's really quite uneven where I've painted this on the first layer. So get a second layer on and then put some wash on. So I actually have a blue wash. I think it's called Drakenhof Nightshade, I think, from Games Workshop. And then straight back to this colour to reinstate most of this, because you don't want that darker colour all over, and then build up by slowly mixing this together with the frostbite. I can really build up to a really nice dynamic blue skin colour. So we'll keep on this. My plan in the end as well is to use the liquid frost from Reaper Miniatures. No, Green Stuff World. Getting myself confused. It's been a long day. So yeah, the liquid frost from Green Stuff World, which you might have seen. I've done a couple of videos on before because I really liked the effect that it gave. Really kind of tying together the if you put a bit of snow on the base. Something like that, using the liquid frost can really tie it into the rest of the miniature. I'll show you again one of the giants that I did earlier, and you'll be able to see the effect on there. It's a bit more subtle than just slapping some snow all over the mini. I think it gives a really nice effect. Is that? I know you said that was going to be available from Mighty Lancer Games. Is it available yet, Mrs. MLG? Or is it still on the way? I know Green Stuff World sometimes have had a few supply issues and things, so it's not guaranteed. But I gave in since Mighty Lancer Games gets a shout out on essentially every stream that I do. I've now put a little link to them on my Twitch profile. I'm not sponsored by Mighty Lancer Games, but that link is a affiliate link. So I get a very slight kickback if you use that link. So if you are kind of inspired by anything that I do or anything that I mention, it would be great if you would use that link. Just, to let everybody know that's where it came from. Oh, sold out. There you are. Must be because of all the good advertising I've done for it, Mrs. MLG. Must be that everyone's seen the effect and they love it that much. That's what I'll keep telling myself. So I think probably I'm trying to decide if his fingers are needing to be blued or not. It's hard to tell. I'm going to leave them for now, I think. I'll do a little bit on his face. I don't need to be too careful here because lots of other colours will kind of go over the top. But I'm going to go like around the eyes so that once I put the eyes in, there's just that hint of blue kind of around the edges. Because this is only the first layer I'm doing, I'm not worried about kind of going over the areas that I want to be blue, because anything like the beard will get painted in later, so any blue that I've got on there will just disappear. So that's not anything for me to worry about. So we'll get that in. Better to put that in now, even if it's areas that don't end up being blue, than trying to add these tiny areas in at the end when everything else is painted. And the slightest mistake means you kind of have to reapply those colours to give it the right look. And we want to make sure that there's just that hint of blue around the face, because a lot of that is covered in helmet and all those other bits and pieces. But yeah, just want to make sure that those are in place. You really don't want to have done all the nice shading and layers and everything on those things and then have to try and get your shaking brush into those tiny little gaps. I think I am actually going to paint the fingers blue for now, on the basis that, again, if I don't want them to be blue in the end, I'll just paint over them. That's the beauty of it, as I've been saying. So I convinced myself of that fact while I was talking, because it looks to me like this hand definitely looks like you can see like the edge of a glove and then fingers. but this one I can't see where the glove would end, but it's alright. We'll just go in and see what happens. As I've been mentioning, at this stage you can kind of be a bit free and easy. You don't need to be as precise as you will be later on, so if you think it might be in there, go for it. As I've said many a time, the goal of this is not to produce some perfect objective image of a giant. The purpose is to create what you want to create and have fun doing it, so as long as you're doing that, I think we're all good. And I like having, like, he's got little fingerless gloves or mittens or something on there, which is nice. There we go. He just needs string going up his sleeves so that he can keep his mittens on. I don't know if that's a thing which exists outside UK children. That might be a cultural reference that's not doesn't apply very well. But yeah, we'll get that onto his fingers there. And there we are. Okie dokie. And as I say, everything will get another coat of this blue anyway, just to give it a nice even finish. I used to, when I first started painting, I would always kind of use enough paint to make sure that I could kind of go over it in one layer. And I tend to be a little bit more cautious now. If it's the first layer like this, I'm not too bothered if it does give me one complete layer first time round. That's not too much of an issue, but I do generally use my paints a little thinner than I did when I first started. Yes, the point in chat of that if this is the child who's got their mittens on strings, you probably don't want to meet the parent of them, do you? Yeah, we'll get that all sorted out. There we are. Okay, so that's first layer of that nice blue done. I think that's everywhere. I say every time I'm painting on stream, I will almost always miss somewhere the first time around and have to go back in. But it's not too bad if you miss it early on. It's again that same thing of you don't want to go back in at the end. Just because I can't resist any chance to show off this miniature. This is not Reaper related, but if we were talking about this being the child and this being the adult, I'm just going to show you Mucklegeet again, the giant from Heresy Minis. There you go, there's the parent and there's the child. I'll have to get some paint on that at some point soon. Okay, so we've got that first layer of blue down, and I think next up I'm going to put some paint on the kind of cloak area. I'm going to go again. I'm going to stick fairly closely with the kind of formula, the recipe that I used for those other giants, because my plan is to kind of use a similar approach, but I guess just be a bit more refined with how I do it, and hopefully end up with a bit of a better look at the end of it. Oh, just before I do that, actually, I tell you what, I'll show you the effect of this liquid frost. So this is the first one I painted. This doesn't have any liquid frost on it, and you can see that I've got snow on the base. And he's got snow on his back, but it's all a bit patchy and doesn't really tie together, I think. Whereas this second one, which is the one that I did put the liquid frost on, you can see that it's kind of, he's got some on his beard, he's got some coming up his legs, so everywhere is kind of showing evidence of that frost. And that was just from putting the liquid frost on there, basically. I did put some snow on the base as well, but adding that liquid frost really kind of ties it together with that frosty look across there. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing on this mini as well. I'm not going to get to that tonight because there's many stages to go before I do that. But instead, I shall break out the brown to do this cloak. I think there's lots of big areas on this mini, so there will be some detail work to do later on, but in the meantime I can kind of get cracking and cover some of these big areas, and you'll start to see the effect kind of coming through. So he has this cloak, and I think that the fur on his boots is probably the same kind of stuff, so we'll kind of get in there. You can't see a huge difference actually because this is such a dark brown going over a black base, but you can see that there is a change. So we'll do that all over the fur. Oh, I think he's got some hair sticking through there as well. But again, I'm not going to be too concerned about getting the fur colours on there because I can always just go back when I'm painting in the hair. But I think he has some hair sticking out the back of his helmet. So we'll get that all over, get a nice brown coverage. And then what I'll do here is I will do two kind of dry brush layers over the top. The fur on these minis is so pronounced and detailed, it takes dry brushing absolutely perfectly. So you don't need to worry about, well, I mean, I guess it depends how you're looking to paint this, because I'm looking for a really good tabletop standard. I'm not going to sit here and pick out all of the tiny little pieces of fur, which is, will give you a beautiful effect, but will take hours and hours, days. Whereas what I'm going to be doing is a much quicker, and I think, 95% as effective approach by doing it with the dry brushing. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see that. It depends how quickly everything dries. It's still. Oh, thank you. Really nice to see you. I'll post on the Discord about the giveaway as well, so you'll know about that. Okay, so yes, yes, it's still a bit kind of cold and rainy and grim in Scotland, but I think the heating is actually on today, so hopefully things will dry a bit quicker. But it was raining rather than snowing today, so it's clearly warmed up a little bit. I think I saw. Well, I was watching football yesterday and the day before, and there was a lot of rain. A lot of snow even around London. So yeah, it's clearly hit the UK, across the UK. It's not just Scotland. My parents live down not too far from London as well, and they were amazed to say that they'd actually got some snow. It's the first time in a while. Right. Okay. So this is a nice and quick coat, but you can see it's actually going on quite nicely, and a bit of the black showing through at the end is not a problem at all, because that just again gives us those deep dark highlights, and that is again when you're doing tabletop level minis, that's one reason why the black primer can be really helpful, is that it does just help you build those shadows in a way that would take quite a bit of work. So yeah, you can take that easier. I don't want to at any point say something like cheating, that kind of thing people talk about, because ultimately what you're looking to do is paint in a way that you find enjoyable to a standard that you like. And I find, for the most part, I do enjoy, every now and then, I enjoy going for a really close-in, detailed, get it to as high a standard as physically possible. But for the most part, I like to get things out on the table. I like to get minis finished in a good amount of time, and so I like doing it to the tabletop standard. I have the greatest of respect for people who have the patience to do that, do it to the highest of standards all the time. I would say, Gorilla with a Brush is an obvious example of someone I really look up to for their painting ability, but also just their humanity and their general all-round character. I have been... now I've forgotten the name of the person that I've been following quite a bit recently on Twitter, who is also to a good level, but so I won't have a guess, but I will look it up for next time when I'm streaming, and I can tell you. But she used to work for the Warhammer Games Workshop kind of painting team, and she left there and kind of does her own thing now. She does commission painting and also paints on streams and things like that, but she's another amazing painter who I really look up to. Okay, so we've got a nice coat of that. You can see on there, it's not a huge difference from the black undercoat, but there is definitely a brown to it now where there wasn't before. So we'll leave that there for the time being, and I'm going to go in for another quick coat of the blue, and then I shall get on with some of the other bits and pieces and giving you updates about things. Take a kind of interlude. Where are we? Oh, it's nearly past. Time does fly sometimes when you're doing some painting. It's a funny old thing. Sometimes I'm not. It's going to take me a while, I think, to get used to measuring time well when I'm streaming, Because some streams I get to about 10:2 and I feel like I've just done nothing in the entire stream. And other times I've kind of painted an entire minion, it's only 20 past, and I think, oh, okay, well, I've got ages to go yet. As I say, fortunately, I can just chat nonsense for ages, so it's not a major issue. But you know, it is funny how sometimes time can behave quite strangely when you're concentrating. So we're getting back in with this same colour we were using before. I'm just literally putting a second coat on to get a kind of smooth finish, cover up some of those streaky areas that we had before. I find Reaper paints, which is what this is, they are fairly loose in consistency, which is actually a good thing. It sounds like it's not, but I don't think they're quite as pigmented as some of the others. So I would say Reaper paint as a rule, I like having them in my arsenal. They're not necessarily always my first go-to, but for these they work really, really well, I think. I mean, I don't know whether it's because, you know, this is a Reaper miniature, so the paints are kind of designed to work in conjunction with that. But I think these particular paints do look really good with the Frost Giant skin. So yeah, and as I say, it's not a problem if there's some of the dark kind of showing through in the recesses, but what I don't want is the really obvious kind of brush strokes, things like that, which just look a bit rubbish, and then you get to the end and you're looking at your miniature and probably no one else ever notices them, but you look at them and think, oh, look at all those brush strokes. I think everyone's always a harsher critic of their own work than they are on others, but yeah, you don't want that anyway. You don't want to get to the end and think, oh, I wish I'd done that better or differently. So take your time and think about ways to do this. So that's definitely a better coat there. I think I haven't done this arm just yet, but we'll do that now. It's always the challenge as you're painting these minis of figuring out the right place to grab. There you go. So the paint was developed by a miniature painting artist. There you are. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think I use so many different brands of paint. I think I would be hard pressed to identify a favourite amongst the ones that I use. I do really like Instar Paint actually, which are a small British company who are relatively new on the scene, but I think they make great paints. Yeah, I have. Well, I any company that I don't have paints from in my arsenal, I would very happily have them, but probably I just either haven't got around to it or can't quite afford to get them in. I've never actually used Scale 75 paints, which are thought to be some of the best in the business. That I have to say is a cost thing. Yes, this is kind of what I do for work at the moment, so I don't have lots of options to use those. But yeah. There we are. We'll get the fingers in again. Again, it doesn't matter if there's, particularly between the fingers, a bit of a darker colour between the fingers is absolutely fine, because that would be shadow. We'll get the thumb in as well, and these fingers also. Oh, there you go. Anne Forrester. Is the person apparently who was working on the paint, who worked for Reaper for many years as a staff painter and head of the paint department. Thank you very much. That's very helpful to know. I did not know that. But yeah, that is cool to know who is involved in these. And I know they're bringing out new paints all the time at Reaper, as are everywhere else really. But I think it's one of those things. Every time they do a Kickstarter, I look at it and think, oh, I'd love to get those paints. But then unfortunately, as my budget gets whittled down, they just never quite make the mark, as I always end up prioritising the miniatures rather than the paints. But yeah. Oh, is that the person who is hosted on Michael's channel before his streams? Because I watched a bit of her today, and she was amazing. Very, very good artist. Another person to look to as an aspiration. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment's break. My my eyesight and my back are both not great, so it's good to sit back in the chair occasionally. There you go. Yes, so that is her. Yeah, yeah. She was working on something today, which was just beautiful, amazing stuff. It's always great to see people who are kind of experts at their craft, but also have a love for it and are great with the community as well. So that's really great to hear. That's really heartening to hear. So, yeah, fantastic. So I'm just going to take, as I say, I'm going to take a couple of minutes as a kind of interlude to talk about a couple of other things. Firstly, I'm just going to say that I currently have a poll open on Twitter, which is to inform what I'm going to start painting on my stream on Thursday. The Thursday is my small miniature creators stream, and I'm going to do a short series on Atlantis miniatures. And Twitter decided that of their various ranges, I would paint the ogres. And now the poll is to decide exactly which ogre I should paint. I don't have all of them, I only have some of them. But I just put a link in the chat so you can have a vote on that if you'd like to, decide which of those I'll start painting. And that's going to be painted over a few streams. I don't need to hurry on that one, so I can actually kind of go start to finish and put a bit more kind of time and love into some of those, which will be really nice. So do check that out, have a vote if you... no, that one was me. I was moderating myself there. Yes, do check that out if you're. I'm assuming that was a shout for the witch, not accusing anyone of being a witch. Let's get our scales out and see if anyone weighs the same as a duck. Yes, so that's going on. I also have, for patrons at the moment, there's another poll going on to choose a big project for me to work on. That's going to be going on for another couple of days. And I'll announce the winner of that on my Saturday morning stream. So if you want to get involved in that, you do have to be a patron, but it's only $2 a month to support me. So, and you get all kinds of like updates and videos and fun things like that. So, that would be awesome. So I'm also... Oh, there we go. That's the moderator right on it. There we go. With the Patreon link. Love it. So the other thing, I promised a giveaway. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway for when I reach 50 Twitch subscribers. Twitch 50 Twitch followers. 50 Twitch subscribers would be a bit of a longer way off, but 50 Twitch followers. So I'm currently, I think, at 31 at the start of stream. So I'm going to publicise this on Twitch and everything. But I thought I would show you first. So to win, it will be just chosen at random from those 50 people, and the winner receives a lovely mug with. I'll move this giant out of the way so you can actually see it. A lovely mug. There's a sticker with this lovely Goblin by Edge's art on as well, and the winner will also receive a miniature. And I'm thinking at the moment, I haven't absolutely decided, but I'm thinking probably this ghost with a little drop of blood on her sword there. But yeah, so it will be mug, sticker, and miniature. And it's completely free. All you have to do is follow. So I imagine most people probably are already here. But if you're watching on catch up or anything, just click that follow button and you'll be part of that. And so as I say, I'll announce that on my Saturday morning stream after I reach 50 followers. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, that won't take too long. I've been very lucky to get to 31, and I've only been doing this since the beginning of the year, really. So I am really pleased, and it's been great to see so many people coming and joining me on this journey. But hopefully, we'll get a few more people along. So yes, that's all good. And I suppose I should probably get back to doing some painting, since that's what we're all here for. And this is where we are at the moment. So you can see now the skin it's flat because it's only had that one colour on, but it's looking better than it was. That's looking good, I hope. One thing I will say now for the end of the stream is, if you guys are still around, it would be awesome if you would help me choose what I paint on my Reaper stream next week, which will be the start of the new month. So we'll be thinking about which of the various categories I'll be painting for the Reaper Challenge League. So because it's a new month, they will all be open again. So I'll run through what they are, but if you already know, you're welcome to shout something out. I think I'm going to go for a little dry brushing now, because that's always a good idea to do dry brushing early. I've said this many a time on streams, but dry brushing late on while doing a miniature is a recipe for disaster, or at least it is the way I do it, just slapping it all over the place. So yeah, we'll get a bit of dry brushing going on, and I'm going to go in to dry brush the cloak and the other fur, and let me get something to wipe my paint on. But over this really dark Rhinox hide, which is what I used for the first one. Sorry, my watch is giving me various football updates as I go along. So if you see me checking my watch at various times, it's not because I'm just looking forward to the end. It's just because it's telling me all about the football. So I'm going to use some Golg Fag Brown from Games Workshop, which is dedicated dry brush paint. And we'll just get some of that on here. Again, this is my makeup brush. I've got a set of makeup brushes that I use as dry brushes. You will probably be able to tell by looking at me. I don't use too much makeup myself, but it's a useful tool to have around. I think I've taken too much off here. It's not really doing anything on here. So let's put a bit more on. It is dark, but this brown should really start to kind of lighten it up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. You can see it's just starting to kind of bring that up. There we are. Yeah, that's starting to look nice there. So what it'll get a lighter dry brush again over the top of this. Probably Terminator Stone, which is the one I tend to use, which is a really nice off-white. It gives it a nice. It really, picks out those really highest points. You don't need very much of that because we don't want it to look white, but we want it to just get that hint, and then a bit of wash over that to bring it back down. But you can see there now with the Rhinox hide underneath, and even that little bit of black, it's starting to look really nice. So we'll keep going with that. Try not to get too much on the blue areas, although we can, again, we can reinstate them if we need to. Get some of that in. Let's get some more on there and keep cracking on. Fortunately, this is not my miniature of the day today, because I don't fancy finishing this guy before. So it's nearly 9 PM here, and I'm an old man these days, so don't fancy staying up and finishing this guy. But he'll get finished off over the next few days, and as I say, you can find his picture on Twitter when the time comes, and on my Saturday stream. So let's get in there, and then we'll do his little leg pieces. Get that fur sorted out as well. There we are. And again, you can see that starting to come up. Oh yeah, another nice Twitter link from our in-house moderator. I'm a bit late now, but it was our moderator's birthday last week, so you can all say happy birthday to him. Nothing like you using my platform for ill, is there? But you don't have to sing. I'm not sure how that would work in a text chat anyway, to be honest. Okay. Yep. So there we are. Oh, and you can see. Yeah, you can see that I've got a little bit of this brown in other places, but I'm not concerned about that, as I say, because that's all still to be painted. And, okay, so I'm actually then, my next thing I'm going to, yeah, I unfortunately, my GIF game is strong, but not while I'm also painting. That's, yeah. That's not something I can do, multitask. So I'm actually going to dry brush the metal as well. Just dry brushing a metal paint, so I'm going to use Lead Belcher because it's the one I happen to have at hand, which is another Games Workshop one. But dry brushing that over black gives a really nice deep metal effect, from where I can then start to bring that up with either just wet brushed, I suppose, they're just normally painted lead belcher, or you can use a more shiny silver. On top of that, I apologise, I just punched my microphone, so I hope it didn't deafen anyone. There we are. So, yeah, we're going to use this, and yeah, let's get this guy going. My dry brushes are very old and tired, so I might have to get some new dry brush at some point. But there we are. So we'll get some of this metal on here, and you'll see very quickly that it just starts to bring the metal up, or at least you will if my dry brushes don't just absorb all the paint into them. But there we are. So yeah, you can see there that it has a really nice effect just by dry brushing the metal straight onto the black primer. I haven't done anything else on that bit. And it gives it that really nice. As I say, it's a very dark metal effect. It's not going to be what you want for really like shiny new metallic looks. But I'm going to work on the assumption that this Frost Giant is not well up with the latest fashion in armour. So there we are. So we'll do that on the back as well. Otherwise you end up with only a half painted axe, which we don't like. So yeah, let's do that. And it means that the darkest areas kind of just take on the slightest complexion of metal, but they still have that really dark shadowed look to them. So we'll get that all over the axe like that. So that's the axe head. I'll do a little bit of work kind of picking out some of those designs, but I mean that's for a tabletop miniature, that's 90% of the work done on that axe in a few seconds. I will do his helmet as well. There'll be a bit more work on this because it's got sort of rivets and bits and pieces like that, but it just as that first layer, it works really, really well. I don't know if it's just that I'm feeling particularly contrary, but I was reading a piece recently about how dry brushing was cheating, and it was the worst thing you could do as a miniature painter. So, and all that made me do was dry brush more things. So yeah, I've been doing quite a lot of dry brushing and experimenting and kind of growing my use of the dry brush because, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as cheating at miniature painting. I mean, I guess if you bought a miniature from someone and claimed that you've painted it or something, but yeah, I genuinely don't understand it. It's a technique that's looked down on by a lot of miniature painters, and I think, as I say, I think you're unlikely to win, international prizes dry brushing. I'm not suggesting that it's the answer to all ills, but for someone to say you're doing this wrong as a miniature painter, I find that quite hard to fathom, really. Yeah, I won't get too much on my soapbox. Exactly, it's a technique, and it's up to you to find the right technique to give you the look that you want and the time that you do. Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad everyone here is not offended by my view on dry brushing, but it's been true of a long time. I'm not saying this is universally true, and there are a lot of probably exceptions. I mean, I guess in some ways I'm an exception to this, but a lot of the sort of older, well, the risk of sounding sexist, but I suppose I'm allowed to say it because it relates to me, but it's a lot of the older men who used to paint, we didn't have washes back in my day, and you shouldn't be dry brushing. I don't know. Probably should stop now, get myself in trouble. But yeah, I don't know. If you don't want to dry brush, you obviously don't have to, but don't tell other people that they shouldn't be. Good. Well, I'll get off my soapbox now. Ah, dear. Right. Let's keep going with this. I'm enjoying doing this. Now that I've got myself fired up about dry brushing, I'm just going to dry brush everything. Yeah. But I'm sure everybody's met that kind of artist. I'm sure it exists in all forms of art as well. I'm sure it's not just miniature painting. The other ridiculous one. I shouldn't have got onto this soapbox now because I'm just going to carry on shouting about other things. The other ridiculous one that I've seen, and this is less so in miniature painting, but just in art in general, is using references is cheating. Using reference photos. What is that about? Uh, how is that anything other like? Again, you don't have to if you don't want to, but why? Yeah, sorry. I'll calm down now. Yeah, I genuinely don't understand why, if you have a chance to see something that will help you, why you don't use it. But anyway, what else shall I complain about? The cost of milk these days. No. Yeah. Anyway, so you can see again that this is. You can see that this is kind of bringing it up. Again, I'm not going to say that this is going to be 100% of the process on these bits and pieces because I will want to do some more work on them. But it's giving it that early kind of feel, which I really like. And I'm going to do his arm. I guess they're probably braces with the same technique. I wasn't planning to do all this, and then I got worked up about dry brushing. So this is, as I've said a few times on my stream, I tend not to have exact plans of how I'm going to paint every mini that I paint. I tend to have more of general ideas of how I want things to look, and then I kind of work to that however I think makes most sense at the time. But yeah. And I think probably this will, for the kind of dynamic metal look that I'm going for, I will need to use a bit more of the kind of bright shining metal to pick up some of those bits and pieces. But I should probably not be touching his helmet where I just put paint. But it's all good. We don't seem to have done any lasting damage. So let's do that. And on this bracer as well. I don't seem to have got this underside quite so well with the primer, so this might need a bit more work than some of the others. But this is again the advantage of using a black primer, because I couldn't have done this dry brushing to this point if it were a white primer. I obviously could have dry brushed it, but it wouldn't really have taken on this look. It would have just kind of looked a little bit shiny. To be honest, it just looks a bit rubbish. So if you want to do this technique for metal, I do strongly recommend using a black primer. If you want to use it, if you want to do kind of silver metal and white, you just have to paint it on normally, and then kind of what I would do is paint this on, give it a couple of washes down so that it kind of gets that darkened look, and then work from there. But so you can see there, we're starting to make some good progress on that. His centre mass is still looking a bit bare at the moment, so I'll do some work on that in a little bit, but it might not be on stream because I've just noticed it's 10 to. So I'm gonna do a little bit more on the skin, I think. Oh, I haven't got my blue wash here, it looks like, so that's a piece of poor planning on my part. But, in which case, oh no, because both my dry brushes I've got here are wet now. You can't use a dry brush when it's wet. That's a recipe for disaster as well. Okie dokie. So, what I'm actually going to do is do a little bit of early highlighting on the skin, which will then get darkened down by that wash when I do that. I mean, so the question is, if it were primed white, would I recommend just painting it metal and then washing it rather than painting the areas black? I mean, you certainly can do. I guess I was thinking in terms of least effort. If we're looking for a tabletop finish, at which point just painting on the metal colour might save a bit of time, but you absolutely can paint it black. You do want to, it will take probably a couple of coats to get a really thick, even coat of black, because if you don't, it's particularly in the recesses, if you're seeing the white coming through still, that's going to lessen the effect, lessen the impact. So you certainly can paint it black and then go from there, but it will take a couple of coats of black to get it where you want to before you're dry brushing. I'm not sure it's sensible that I'm drinking coffee at 10 to 9, but we'll see. I do drink industrial amounts of coffee, so I'm sure it's fine. Okay, so let's see. What should we do? Okay, I'm going to paint the bottom of his tunic here actually, and I'm gonna kind of bring the colour in from the other one, and I did a kind of coppery bronze colour on this one, so I'm gonna go for that again. And I have to say, I'm about to use another Games Workshop metal. Most of the metals that I use are Games Workshop, mostly because I bought them all before I was using all the other brands. The first brand of paint that I used was Games Workshop, and they do a good enough range that I've kind of got used to using them, and so I just haven't felt the need to buy any others. It's not necessarily a particular preference. I'm sure there are great metal paints from all the different companies. Let me find a good brush for this. I've got all the stuff out from doing my mini of the day earlier, so I don't want to say that it's a mess, but well, it's a bit of a mess. Okay, so again, I don't water down metallic paints because I find that they kind of lose the consistency, lose the pigment. It goes a bit weird. Actually, this needs a bit more of a shake before I use it. So I go straight on with metal paints. They also, because the metal paints have kind of little flecks of the metallic stuff in the paint, they do tend to be a little looser anyway, a little more watered down to begin with, so they don't need it quite so much, I find. You can water down metallic paints a little bit, if that's what you want to do. You just have to be a bit careful, I guess, and I find that it's not a problem using them non-watered down. So this is actually Balthazar Gold, but it comes out much more of a kind of coppery bronze colour. You can see it going on there, and I think it works really well for kind of if you don't want that shining gold, you can use this, and it works well as a base for gold if you are going to build into that, but you can also build it towards that more coppery bronze finish. It works really, really well with a purple over the top, which gives you a really kind of dark... I'm just trying to see if I've got any examples of it around me. I should have thought of that before I was doing this. I haven't, but it gives it a really dark... particularly like if I'm doing a statue, which would be in bronze or something, I will normally give it a purple wash over the top, because it gives it that kind of slightly old, weathered... I was going to say lived in. I don't suppose you'd live in a statue. Oh yeah, you could live in the Statue of Liberty, I suppose. So there you go. So yeah, this is quite bright at the moment, and nothing on the giant is very bright except potentially his beard. Again, my love for beards comes out apparently. So I will definitely darken this down, but as a starting point, it's a nice way to go with this. Yeah, giving it that kind of coppery. I always think of it as definitely as like almost like a really old copper kettle when you use these, when you use Balthazar Gold. Yeah, and it does take really well to different coloured washes. Really, you can use some Agrax Earthshade, which is the brown wash, which gives it a nice finish. You can also use like a flesh wash. A flesh shade over it, and again that almost strangely makes it shine more, because I think the shine of copper is a little bit red tinted. Putting that flesh wash over it just gives it a nice shine. So I'm just painting kind of the under layers here with the kind of straps or whatever over the top. I'll do them differently afterwards. So you can see that's going on nicely. What time are we on? It's 5:02. Okay, so I'll just finish this and then I'll wrap up for the day. But yeah, I think that's not bad progress for an hour's work in an evening. Hopefully it's been interesting and staved off the boredom a little bit. we go. A couple more areas around the front there. I'm going to aim to get this finished, as I say, for the end of this week for the Reaper Challenge League. I still haven't actually submitted any of my entries to the Reaper Challenge League, which I really need to, because I've painted for quite a few of the different categories. I've painted a monster, I've painted an NPC, I painted for the 3 people painting the same miniature. I think that's been submitted by someone else, actually. What else was there? I'm trying to think. I feel like there's another. I feel like there's another category that I've painted for, but yeah, I get myself a few of the points in their challenge league. Oh, I wasn't sure about new releases, because I think I might have to have a look at all the new things which have been released recently, because I think to be in the new release category, it has to have been released in the last 3 months. And I haven't bought any minis. No, that's a lie. I've bought minis in the last 3 months. I haven't bought any Reaper minis in the last 3 months. But I've got all the ones from the Kickstarter number 4, which I think they're still releasing. So I'll have to have a look at what's been released. I did have a look on the Reaper Minis website, and it doesn't appear to be able to be sorted by release date, which is slightly annoying when you're trying to figure out things that have been released in the last 3 months. But yeah, I'll try and figure that out. I didn't have a chance. I don't think by the end of the month I'm going to have a chance to do the limited palette this month, which I was planning to do, which is just the 3 colours. Yeah, because I'm doing the mini a day, and I'm doing the Atlantis mini stuff, and I've got the poll on the Patreon and everything like that. I'm not sure I'm going to have a chance to do that one, but we shall see. We shall see. So, it's my mum's birthday on the 31st, so I should probably sort something out for her birthday. It's not good when you have to use the closing day of the Reaper Challenge League to remember your mum's birthday, is it? So, this is where we are at the moment. We've made quite a decent amount of progress, I think, for an hour. Obviously, still lots to do, but hopefully it's given you some insight into the way I'm going with it, and it will end up looking a little bit like this guy. Something like that. You can see here, actually, the difference. So this bracer I painted in the metal colour rather than doing the dry brushing, and it definitely looks different. Actually, I for Christmas, not this last year but the year before, I painted up the Reaper Nativity set for her, which she has a whole like crib collection, so she absolutely loved the Nativity set. So yeah, I did actually manage to paint her a mini. I'm not sure that she's that as into frost giants as she is into cribs, unfortunately. Otherwise I could do that, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Okie dokie. Yeah, so I did say as well that if you guys have any thoughts about what you'd like to see me tackle on my next Reaper stream, which will be next Tuesday, we'll be into the new month, so I can do any of the categories. So if you have any thoughts right now, do give me a shout. Otherwise, feel free to let me know anytime through the week, or yeah, I guess probably by Monday, when I'll be planning out what I'm doing for the week. I do a Monday update video for my patrons that I record and send out every Monday. So by that point, I'll probably have decided what minis I'm going to paint for the week. But yeah, do give me a shout if you have any thoughts. I was going to show you some of the ones that I've got. I think I am in the end going to submit this one to the Reaper Challenge League as Monster, which seems so mean because he definitely doesn't look like a monster. Is there a dragon category, Mrs. MLG, or do you just want me to paint a dragon for something? I could definitely do a dragon, and not just a rocky dragon. I could do a full size dragon, but yeah, I could do that over a couple of streams, I guess, and then that could fulfill a category. But I would definitely have to look up what the categories are before I commit to doing something like that. I do like the idea of having a mini that I could paint over a couple of streams. Or you suggested I send a dragon to my mum, one of the two. So, yeah, I could do a dragon over the next couple of streams. I assume I have an unpainted Reaper dragon. I probably do. I'm not in a position to be buying more minis at the moment, so I need to be a bit careful about what I promise. But yeah, I think I probably do have a dragon, so I could definitely do that. And I actually had a shout recently from a patron to maybe paint a purple dragon, so I might well do a purple dragon, and then I could do that as a monster, couldn't I? That'd be fine. Yeah, that'd be all right. I could do that as my monster themed mini. Okay, so tentatively, I will say that next week I will start work on a Dragon Mini for that. Unless it's, I guess, if I have one from the Reaper 4 Kickstarter, I could either use it as a recent release or as a monster, as however works best. Oh, but we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, actually, I'll show this guy finished on that stream as well. So if you're around, then that would be cool. So thank you very much for joining me. That is my hour. So I shall leave you in peace to enjoy the rest of your evening or afternoon or wherever you are in the world, or whatever part of the day it is. But thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for keeping me company. I always enjoy the chat, answering questions, things like that. And as I say, if you are not currently following me on Twitch, do give me a follow if you want to be in with a chance of winning the little prize. That would be cool. Yeah. And yeah, if you want to sign up to my Patreon, obviously that would be very welcome as well, and you can vote in the poll for my big project over the next month as well. So yeah, thank you everybody, and I will say as well, I am streaming tomorrow. I stream at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday GMT. That's League of Legends. I play League of Legends for a couple of hours, just hang out, chill, and chat. And then Thursday will be the start of my Atlantis minis. Currently, the leading contender for being painted over the next few Thursday streams is this witch from Atlantis Miniatures. That's currently ahead in the poll, but there's still time for that to change. And then, yeah, Saturday morning is coffee, chat, and minis, where I just kind of hang out and chat random stuff. So have a great week, and hopefully I will see you at another stream very soon. Bye.